All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another week of Lives with Strategy, Solutions, and Sanity. I am so excited for our guest today. And I feel like I just kind of I need to hype everyone up on talking to Colleen today because we just met. I mean, we've kind of been connected on LinkedIn for a while, but we just met at Megan Shapiro's conference in Sedona, which shout out to Megan. I am awaiting the 2026 details. And everyone that did not go in this past June should have major FOMO. But we just met like 6, 7 weeks ago, really. And I remember we were sitting by the pool and I was like, wow, this person has such like awesome energy, but also resolve. And I was just like, how do I learn her wisdom? Is that have you always kind of had that or essence from your personality, or has that developed over time for you?
I think both are true. I think because
Okay.
I'm super leaning into the yes and since I took a improv course last year. But all that to say, I think it's both. I think it
Mm,
is a part of who I've always been. My husband to this day, he's like, there's just something that you carry. I don't think you can put it into words. It's just who you
mm,
are.
yeah.
But then also, I mean, we talked a little bit about this right before you hit live. I mean, it's an ongoing discovery of like, who the F are
Yeah.
we?
What is happening? No,
Yes.
but to that point, I think and this will, I think, also tie into some of the work that you do and some things we'll touch on later. But there's this new therapist that has been popping up on my social media. And also, so everyone knows, I'm a grandma, so I watch my reels on Facebook. I don't download TikTok. Okay. I ignore Instagram because everyone's too pretty on Instagram. So I just scroll on Facebook when I want to zone out, you know? Like, but anyway, there's this awesome therapist that's like, let's talk real about mental health and the therapy industry, right? And talk therapy is awesome, but most people stop when they are aware of the problem, right? And that was me for a while as well. Like I never really went to talk therapy, but I was always in these cycles of self-reflection. And then I'd be like, oh, okay, I have the answer. I'm aware of why I do this. Cool. And then it would totally stop there. And then the learning the strategies and actually applying the self-improvement so that should follow. That didn't happen for me anyway. She talks about how most people are missing that, and they get stuck in the awareness, and that creates this level of resentment and cynicism in their day-to-day lives. And you have to just kind of enjoy the journey, but also put the action into it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So what have been it's been a part of your personality a little bit, but also this journey. What have been some of the major habits or actions that you've built over time?
So I would say my dad, he's still alive. My dad to this day, one of the things he used to say to us when we were younger, and when I'm saying younger, high school, college, that type of thing, he would say, um, you have to look in the mirror every day at the end of the day at yourself in the reflection and ask yourself, like, am I proud of putting my head on my pillow? Am I proud of what I did today? Could I have been better? Could I have done more? I only answer to me, period. And
Mm,
so so I always think about that because then ultimately, and I say this now, and I say this even when I'm speaking, the biggest kind of takeaway, the biggest thing that I do, because it's the biggest thing that I do is to turn the finger in at myself before I turn it out. Because
mm,
I mean, I don't, and you have to learn that, and then you have to own it, right, to the reflection in the mirror. And that's not easy. I mean, it wasn't easy. I'd be lying if I say that I, at one point, and sometimes have to catch myself still today to be like, oh, whoa, 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 rather than looking externally, what role am I playing in this first? And maybe
mm,
I'm not playing a role in it. That's fine, but I still have to pause and ask that question. So
mm.
that to me is the biggest thing, is always remembering, turn the finger in before you turn it out. And
Yeah.
if
Oh,
I can
wow.
sit in that, then that can always be my okay.
Yeah, that's great advice from your dad, though, which is tough. I would prefer he just say, "Can you wake up and what are you going to do today that you're going to be proud about?" Right? Because at the end of the day, I'm like, "Ugh, F this. Can I just have my bowl of cookie dough ice cream and just like chill out and go to sleep or whatever? But it's like, no, like, let's evaluate the day. Like, are you proud of yourself today?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's absolutely like kicked ass today. And sometimes it's like, absolutely not. I totally sucked today. And tomorrow's going to have to be a brand new day.
Yeah, because I mean, even so, it's not even like, well, I guess maybe it is. It's like sometimes it's maybe not even the action. It's like, did I own up? Did I own up to my own principles or what I stand for, like integrity and just being a good person, and that those little things rather than it being something so big. And then you can still have your bowl of ice cream as a celebration or as a comfort, either one.
Yeah, sometimes it's like we won today ice cream. Other times it's like, here's my sad ice cream, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so does any of this kind of relate to moments that you have lost your sanity in business? Or have the moments that have completely driven you crazy in business been totally different and kind of unrelated to self-reflection and really coming back to your values?
I think that's also a yes and. So so I mean, again, like there's no perfect way to do business. There's no playbook. I mean, it's just constant learning and pivoting and struggling and screaming and questioning yourself and all those things, right? And then having that one tiny moment that you're like, okay, like all of that, everything that I just worried about or just couldn't figure out, it came to fruition, whatever the it is. And definitely, like when I answer this, please tell me if I'm answering it or if you feel like I hadn't quite gotten to it yet. So all that to say, I mean, as I continue to learn how to be a business owner, and trust me, I've been able to watch. I mean, my parents were business owners. They opened their business when I was 5. So I've been able to watch. I grew up in that world. It's not a foreign world to me. My husband's a business owner. I've always been the support resource. I've always been the person with the water bottle or the NASCAR team, changing the wheels. But all that to say, it's just a constant learning, a constant struggle. But I always know, to your comment about the values, thankfully I've done that work on my values. I wish I would have done it sooner. To be able to put words to things like, oh, that's my integrity. That's why that feels icky. Or I'm not using my voice. That's me needing to lean more into I'm all about advocacy, not just for myself, but for others. So it's just super messy. That's it.
It is, isn't
so
it?
Messy.
Yeah. And so what's interesting about how you kind of kicked off your answer there was to me kind of what you were describing. It's like we could have just really interchanged business for parenting, right? On that of like, there's no playbook for parenting. We don't know what you're doing. There's different values here and there, right? And it's learning, it's improving, and it's kind of figuring your own way. And so what's also interesting there is that you called out the idea of like there is no playbook. And I think a lot of people would argue like, oh, there's plenty of like playbooks and structures and things to do, right? Whether it's EOS or like 10x is easier than 2x and stuff. And so I'm also curious with those comments. It makes me think, maybe I'm assuming I'm making an ass out of myself, but it makes me think that there were moments either in your business or as like a manager and leader in a previous kind of employee role that you wish that there was just a simple playbook. There was like a step-by-step on how to do something. Is that true?
Oh, girl, I am like a recovering type A. So yes, 100%. And every day you learn more and more. It's just gray. It's gray. There is no black and white. It's scenario driven. It's so kind of to your point, like, yes, some would argue, no, there is a way to do business. Sure. You file X and then you need to have Y in place. There are, I think about like leases. Leases have like, this is the way the lease is going to be. That seems very black and white, but that's not all business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so So yes, there are things that we can use to help guide us, but those are just guardrails. And then it gets into situational. So yes, as a leader, as a manager in like former roles, did I wish there was a playbook? Sure. But I also kind of appreciated when I had the ability to then go in the gray, because then that allows me to be me and pull from those values, right?
Yeah, and it becomes very defining moments, right? Of like, one, I'm now like reinstating that these are my values. This is how I will show up as a leader
Mhm.
for my team or for my network, like, whoever's in my community, right?
Mhm.
But then it also kind of reinforces like, oh, you can do this. You can
Mhm.
figure this out. Like there's that self-esteem booster. Again, coming back to parenting, if I solved every problem for my kids, they would never figure out how to solve anything, right? Like they come up and like, this thing is broken. I'm like, cool. What are you gonna like? Do you want to throw it away? Do you want to fix it? How are you gonna fix it? Right. So what was one of those like defining moments where your values really came into play of like, okay, I could go down this route, or I could have integrity, I could be a good person and go down this path?
So I'll speak from current. So the last couple of years that I've been doing this on my own, it has been a very, I feel like you hear this a lot, but you got to learn this one on your own, is when you're hungry in the sense of like I need dollars coming in, you're grasping and you're considering, and maybe you say yes to the work or the clients that really just don't suit you. It's just not, the work really isn't your work. The client personality really isn't your jam. And remembering, okay, that's why I walked away from whatever it was in the past, so that I could serve not just myself better, but those that I work with better. It's leaning into those moments of, again, like the silent whisper, like, why does this feel off? It's because I'm making a choice that's based on, do I feed my household or do I stay true to my values? And neither, those are not, that's not easy. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And so that, I would say present day, it's more so anytime an opportunity comes across my desk, I have to really pause, because the financial scarcity brain that I have is the first thing that's going to show up, is like, take it, take it, take it. And then I have to say, no, that's not, that's not who you are today. That's not the work you do today. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah.
I had to learn also like how to, when I was first starting my business, how do I show up in sales calls and not wreak desperation for that to like close, right? But what I'm hearing is we have to like redefine hunger. And Patrick Lencioni does this really well when he breaks down the ideal team player, right? And he has one of the, if you have you read or like seen any of his stuff with the ideal team
No,
player? Okay.
no.
Well, he breaks down like these are the type of people that you want to hire. And one of the things is hungry. It's like hungry, humble, and smart or something. And hungry is more, it's not about like always trying to get to the next thing or trying to like kick ass as goals, right? Because then you could kind of build a very arrogant two type A team that way. But he defines hungry, and I haven't read this book for years, so I might be getting this wrong, but I'm almost sure this is right. But he defines hungry as like always wanting to learn, always wanting to
Mm.
improve. And then in the entrepreneurial sense, we have to define hunger of like, okay, I'm hungry for this type of work. I'm hungry for my business to look like this, and not for it to just be any and all clients. And I
Mhm.
feel like the PITA, the pain in the ass clients, has been a theme for several of my guests so far. Whether it's like, hey, we didn't have the structure for this, or we didn't really pitch the right kind of value driven proposal here as to deliverables focused, or we're out of alignment. And so it sounds like you've had to do a lot of work as well of like, I might want this proposal to get to close. I might want this deal to close because that invoice would be nice, but it wouldn't feel good delivering on that proposal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just the other day I said, that's not what I do. I'm happy to refer you. And
Mm.
I mean, that felt better than it did, the times I had to do it before, because I've been strengthening that muscle. Right. But yeah, you're
Mm.
like, okay, this is not, I was hoping this would go in one direction, but it's just not the work I do. I'm happy to refer you, unless you want to try to like tweak it or make it different or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into what that work actually is. Like, what, give us, for the guests that don't know you. I mean, like, I've cyber stalked you enough. I feel like I can read your taglines and everything from art, but break it down for us. Like, really, what is your focus and why is that your focus?
Yeah. So my focus is suicide prevention at work. And so some might say mental health at work, but suicide prevention in the sense that there are very specific factors that are present in our workplaces that are tied to anxiety, heightening, exacerbating, whatever word you want to use, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, and suicides. But we don't talk about those enough when it comes to suicide prevention at work. We do a really okay, nice ish job of talking about stigma, of talking about recognizing the signs, which is great. We need that. But we have to also remember people aren't going to always show signs. And then the other thing is, again, there's this third leg of the stool, which is the workplace itself, the system that we report to that is part of the problem,
Hmm.
that we have to turn our finger in before we turn it out, right? And so all that to say, I have transitioned to strictly professionally speak. So I also often say consult from the stage, because I'm a former consultant. I have worked as an organizational health leader. I was in that work for over 25 years and decided that I just was done. I wanted to work with organizations that really wanted to make change happen, really wanted to be different. And as I went down that path, I realized it's still really tough to do if I continue to consult. So what's another way I can do it? I can lean into being an educator, which is what I am. And I can educate and or consult from the stage. And at minimum, those that are in the audience hopefully want to be there and they can
Hmm.
take away at least one thing. So it's a different way of getting to that. And honestly, at the end of the day, I believe that mental health is the foundation of every workplace. I mean, if you don't have a workplace unless you have humans that are in it, and we all come with mind and body. And then in addition to that, like many, I have a story. I have a story that comes from, growing up and how I learned about mental health and then how that's impacted my story. And so I I've been there. I've also been around family members that have been there. So to me, it just, when I left the workplace, my workplace in 2023 to go out on my own, I really had to own that too and say,
Hmm.
this is why.
Yeah. Okay, a couple things there. One, because I'm a cheerleader, I got to hype you up a little bit here because you said educator. And I was like, oh, teacher. Like, that's the, like, going back to like, what is it about Colleen that just feels like so graciously good? It's a, you have this, like, what a teacher is supposed to be, right?
Yeah,
Of
I
like,
love that. Yeah.
you seem really good at like knowing how to educate with like space for compassion and also
Mhm.
how to like change your wording and communicate differently so someone else can actually receive whatever you're trying to teach on, right? And so, oh, teacher Colleen, I know
I
we're
love
going
this.
but I love that. So, okay, let me go back to you said one of the things is like the system, and what that sparked for me was I learned very early on how much some workplaces can absolutely suck. And so I remember working at a staffing agency, and this was temp to hire. And so it's fast paced. Like you get someone calling at like 4 p.m. Hey, I need like 10 warehouse guys to show up 7 a.m. tomorrow. And it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to be working for the next 3 hours. And I remember like, wait, I'm also going to school full time. Like I'm working a full time 9 to 5, or really at that time it was like a 7:30 to 6 kind of
Mhm.
job. I'm going to school as well on top of that and trying to do it all without taking out student loans. And I was like, okay, I need to get a part-time job because I really didn't want student loans. And this full-time job, it was so demanding. I couldn't commit to my schedules for my part-time job, right? And I also just remember like I'm looking around at like our bullpen and nobody is happy with their job.
Mm.
Like no one is happy with their life. The one person who tried to have some kind of like work-life boundary of like, okay, I'm leaving at 5:30 at the latest, kind of got labeled as the troublemaker, the one that doesn't put in effort, the one that doesn't care about the team. And I'm like, no, I think she just has a family that she
Right.
wants to go home to. And that's so common. And like in almost in every industry, every company has its like, there's always a bad company in any industry, right?
Mhm.
And I'm going to kind of relate this back to, I told you before that I wanted to play devil's advocate a little bit with you because you have this very long career focusing on workforce health, right? And I think for some, when their career has been solely focused on that, it can get a little tunnel vision of like, this is the problem, right? We see that in nonprofits, like, this is the problem. And like, my solution is the Bible. So, how has that not happened for you? And why really can you say, like, this really is a problem?
Ugh, so many. Okay, so one, I have a total love-hate relationship with this industry.
The industry of like workforce health or the industry of like doing that workforce health with construction?
Workforce health.
Okay.
Because I think it's irrelevant of industry, even though like construction is where my focus is. So I think it's industry agnostic. So I appreciate the tunnel vision. I think for me, I've always seen things a little bit different. Again, because I saw work different growing up, being the child of a business owner, of two business owner parents, and then having my husband as a business owner, but then me being an employee, right? So I just have always seen things a little bit differently. Um, I think that I think that at the end of the day, we do have a system problem. We have a system problem of hierarchy, of it's my way or the highway, um, ego, and all those things can be good, but they're bad, right? Like so let me just kind of veer off for a second. They can be good and like getting people excited, fueling. I mean, ego can be good, but it can also be bad, right? So when I think about some of the recent stuff that I'm reading online lately, it's the employers have the power again. Oh, the employee or the power shifted to the employee. What? So now we already have this divide. We already have this like who's holding the power. When at the end of the day, things like job demand, like what you described, yeah, some jobs are just going to be demanding,
Mm.
right? Things like, unfortunately, this work is customer service and it's going to be extremely low in regards to how it's going to make you feel. You're answering phones, you're talking to people that maybe have just had a cancer diagnosis. I'm making this up, right? If we are not clarifying, hey, this is what this job is, there really is no way to go from point A to point B. The job is the job, but this is what you'll get from us in return. We will always thank you for your day's work. We will appreciate you for showing up. These little things, right? We as in the employers, are not setting, we're not saying the truth, right? We're probably not even saying half of it. Tell the people that the work is hard. I mean, I think, again, can you tell I'm getting like super heated up about this?
Let's do it. Let's get riled up. No, but okay.
Yeah,
Let me pause on a few things
yeah,
there.
please.
Because one, I really appreciate the realism here because I think sometimes we get distracted from the idea of like a business is a business. Like
Yes,
a
like we're making
business
money.
has to,
Yes.
yeah, it either makes money or there are no jobs available, right?
Right.
Now we can do that while trying to be good humans. We can do
Mhm.
that while trying to like not be a total asshole authoritarian, right?
Mhm.
Authoritative is like the good kind of authority.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like trying to pull on all my vocabulary without being authoritarian leaders, right? But let me take a step back. Let's break down some of these things because you said, you said that you've always seen things differently because your parents were business owners, and you kind of mentioned that a few times. And I would really like to understand what looked different for you than you think the average person that maybe had both parents working or even like mom home, dad working scenario.
So I'm going to try to put this into words. So I think there's a different level of there's a different level of pressure when you're a business owner, in the sense that not only are you the owner, you're also an employee. So it's like double pressure. One, I'm committed to keeping the lights on for my household, my own family, but also for the families of those that are working for me. I've committed to these people. And I actually saw that in that positive human, my people are the reason I'm here today type of thing on that side of the house. So there's a whole different level of, it's like 2 layers of fear, 2 layers of stress. It's, to me, everything is kind of doubled, because not only are they the owner, they're also an employee. For me, then, as an employee, I know what it's like to be afraid to not perform, because I want to perform well, to meet my goals. But at the end of the day, I could also just walk away. I don't have to be
Because you have the power. The power has shifted. Do you feel like that kind of entrepreneurial stress came home with your parents then? Like, did we feel that at the dinner table? Did we feel that on the weekends, or like, I don't know what you did as a child, but like missed dance recitals or missed soccer games, etc.?
Oh, girl, that's why my anxiety is like.
Why are we type A? Let's bring it back to childhood. Live therapy session, everybody.
Yes, I mean, hearing, yes. I mean, it's a strong yes. Stuff that I was just hearing, different conversations around, we don't have work. What are we going to do with the guys or the gals? It was primarily men, because my parents owned a sheet metal business. So at that time, it was really all men. How are we going to keep the guys going? It was always, which is where that the scarcity mindset of me comes from. It was always this, I always heard these conversations of, how are we going to continue this? Or, this is what happened. This injury occurred, and this is going to cost us X amount of dollars. This could shut us down. This could, right? All these, so many big things, compared to, my performance review wasn't great today because I didn't do X, Y, and Z. So 100%, it was brought home all the time.
Yeah. Oh man, I definitely think my personality is more nurture than nature. I'm trying to, like I mentioned earlier, I'm trying to go with the flow a little bit more. But I think that my childhood definitely influenced like type A. Someone recently described me as type A minus, because I was like, I'm not a total type B person. But yeah, sometimes I forget water bottles for my kids, and I'm like, we're all drinking out of the same water bottle today. Like, I only brought mine. And other times I'm like, we're going to plan this to the T. And if anything goes out of schedule, then I don't know what is happening. Right. And so, but yeah, it is a different type of pressure. And I was just talking to someone the other day, and I'm like, okay, like, what are some of the challenges that you're experiencing? And his response, and granted, he's coming from it from the solopreneur perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not the employee, or like even having to pay for employee salaries. But he's got a family. And so he's like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this for, because it is very demanding to go out there, make sales, go out there and deliver to clients. And you have to set your own performance evaluations. And how do you do that in a way that feels fair to you, and you're not always people pleasing and all of those things? Did you fall into any of those like people pleasing traps early on in your business?
That's the one thing that I think,
Oh.
so one thing that I think most will say is, I'm not a people pleaser.
Oh, okay, Sam has gone in a totally different direction then. Okay, so you have always been really good at just saying like, no.
That's the one I will say. I don't know where it comes from, but I will always put myself first before anything else. Always.
So then I will challenge a bit on this,
Yeah.
because coming back to the beginning of the episode of, we have to have redefined hunger as an entrepreneur.
Mhm.
And there are some clients that are just not a fit for you. If you feel like you've always been good at saying no, then why is it sometimes hard to just say, okay, like that proposal is not right for me? Does it come back to financial scarcity, or is there something else at play there?
Always financial scarcity for me. My brain is immediately, I'm always on high alert. Like think, because I've been working since I was 13 and not babysitting. Like I actually had like a job at a bakery. All I know is to make a paycheck. And so immediately financial scarcity is what comes up for me. Um, and then that was interesting though about the proposal. I'm thinking about oftentimes it's in the conversation that I'm
Mm.
hearing. So there isn't enough advance for me to know that it's for me to turn it down. It's more so like it's in the conversation that I'm like, I'm not the person for you.
Okay, okay. No, all that makes a whole lot of sense. And I think, but going back to like the people pleasing thing, it's interesting because I people please quite often. But then in my own home, my husband is like, "You are stubborn to a detriment sometimes." He's just like, "Can you just say yes to this? Can you just trust that like I know what I'm doing?" And I'm like, I don't think so. I think I'll continue with my way. And then when my way messes up, then I'll come crawling back to you in
Oh, I
tears
love
and saying, okay, what did you suggest? Okay. So another big thing for you, not only saying no, but another phrase that you've used a few times, and I'm curious about, is the yes and. And it sounded like that was a new habit for you. I am a chronic yes but person, but you are shifting. So where does this yes and come from, and why does it even matter that you phrase it that way?
So I finally took a improv class last year. And and I finally understood how people um like how improv translates into the workplace, translates into conversations. I just finally like had the aha moment of how it translates. Is that a yes, but is you're closed. You're not
Mm,
open for receiving and
mm,
for continuing the conversation in whatever direction it might go. A but somewhat shuts things down. Whereas an and, yes doesn't mean I agree with you. I'm saying yes, and this might be another way to think about it. So
mm.
it's more so the yes is about welcoming and accepting your statement. And here's another thing I'd like to add to it. Again, it's more so just about opening rather than shutting it down.
Interesting. Okay, so then if we bring that into a practical place, how has that shifted how you show up in your business, right? And like, has this changed, h- how you close sales or how you then deliver whatever you've promised to deliver, et cetera? Like, really, where is like that business shift for you with that?
So I would say when something comes across my plate, it is, it's not this kind of goes back to even to what we were just saying about the right client or not. It doesn't have to fit the box exactly. I can say, okay, yes, this is my path, and adding this may feel on paper like it doesn't make sense as to what I'm trying to do, but it feels good. So and I'm fueling the listening to like that silent whisper of this is who you are. This is like who I am. This is my integrity and advocacy. Like, so it allows me to lean into advocacy work or something along that
Mm.
nature. So to say it in a different way, I think it's more so, okay, yes, this fits. And although, again, this may not seem as black and white, it's gray, but the gray still aligns.
I
It's
wish there
trying
was
to define things different.
Yeah, I wish there was a prettier color than gray though, because I think the gray can be
Yeah.
quite bright and beautiful moments. And to that point, like there are some standard things that I do in business for sure. Like I wouldn't I could not talk about structure if there wasn't some standard and like the services that we provide and in our pricing and everything. But to that point, if I only operated in our box of services, I would go just match it crazy. I would be so bored in business and it would get so monotonous. And so I'm always like, okay, here are my skill sets, here are my knowledge bases, and then how can that apply to whatever problem they're experiencing? Because sometimes people do come to me for different things that maybe are on my website or are in my social media content or are even in my pricing guide. And I'm like, okay, like this is cool. Am I a fit for this? Like, does this at least fit into the box or the cradle of like my knowledge
Yeah.
base? And like, can I, do I feel good invoicing for this at least? Right.
Yes.
And if so, then yes, let's do it. And sometimes it's like, no, I really don't feel good invoicing. Like, it would be exciting to do this, but I can't justify someone paying me for this because I'm not confident in like the quality output that I might deliver here. But if I was just in that box, oh, I think that would really suck for business. And for some people, like this is what they do. If that's not that, they refer you out, and that works for their personality, and good for them. Doesn't work for
Yeah.
me.
The other thing I would just add, as you were saying that, it's almost like it's that moment of, will this stretch me in a good way? This is a gap in my learning. I have enough foundation and baseline, and this will allow me to stretch a bit.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, yeah,
Yes.
the box is good to help keep the kind of the foundational components, and there's this opportunity to potentially stretch as long as you're being true to yourself, which I love that.
Oh,
I love that. Like, do I feel comfortable billing for this?
yes, right. Like I always say, like I'm not going to invoice just to invoice. I've got to
Yeah.
feel good with like that number and like clicking send on it, right?
Yeah.
But oh yeah, like I need to be stretched. I need to have more chaos in my day. If there's too many of like, oh, I could do this in my sleep moments, I actually procrastinate more because I'm like, okay, like
Same.
whatever, right? But if there's like a oh oh shit, can I do this? Then I'm like, oh, I'm really on my game for that. Have
Yeah.
you ever experienced that for yourself?
Oh my gosh, I've been experiencing it this week.
There's so many what the heck moments. We can't even pick one.
I've been working on this presentation so my husband and I are co-presenting, and I have foundational content, right? That I'm like, oh, it's there, but I know it's no, I need to add the new layer, right? So some of it is, I finally had this moment as I wrote down my outline. I'm like, oh no, girl, you need to get going. Like there's more to it than just what you like, the foundation. And so that just really like lit a fire under me this week in a great way. But for a while there, I was just like, yeah, I got it, we're good. And then I'm like, oh hell no, we got to work. But it got me excited, and it was only
Yeah.
because I hadn't written anything out yet.
Yeah. Oh, I love that though. Like that brings us back to a little bit of type A, right? Kind of type B because you didn't write it out. You procrastinated a little bit on it, right? But there's and I've talked about this in some of my content before. If there is like this productive procrastinator personality, where actually the closer it is, like the 11th hour, or like coming down to the wire, your brain kicks into a different gear. But it's really hard to kick into that gear if you like don't actually start like writing that outline. So I do the same thing with workshops and different things of like, here's a rough idea, here's the outline. It'll sit on the shelf for like 2 weeks. I'm like, that's good enough. And then the day before or 2 days before, I'm like, okay, I got to practice this. And then I blow up the whole thing. And then it's
Yeah.
like, here are all the new ideas, right? And so, oh man, when is your presentation though? Like, how much more time do you have to really fluff it out?
So the presentation is in September. It's the end of September, but
Okay.
I want us to be, so I'm a very practiced speaker, so that it feels super natural. And then it just also helps me anticipate. It's the consultant in me. It allows me to work through like anticipation of questions, or if, whatever. So I want to have it written no later, because I'll script us, but again, it's not that we're going to be up there like reading a script. It's just that we have the foundation there. I want it to be done by the end of by mid-August. I want it to be written. So I'm about 50%.
We've got some time. And then, probably come September 1st, you're like, here are all these new ideas. How can we fit it in?
100%. 100. As we're practicing it and working through it, I'm going to be like, no, scrap that. We're starting over, because
Yeah.
that's what we do.
Yeah. And on that point, did your husband also take this improv class?
He took it 15 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah, so he took it like 15 years ago. He's a big, he loves stand up. And then he actually went on to do like a stand up class and does. So, anyways, yes, he did do it a while ago. So now we get to like riff with each other a little bit, which is super fun.
On that note, I'm gonna totally digress with this. We have the phrase of like nice guys finish last. And I feel like there just needs to like I want to make it a phrase of like funny guys finish first. Like if
Yes.
you funny guys are like where it's at. If you can make me laugh, and I laugh at almost everything. So if you can't make me laugh, it's like, what is happening here?
I love
Okay.
that. We do need to rewrite that.
Okay, Colleen, we've talked about a lot. We've talked about like, hey, you've got to stretch yourself. You can't always have a playbook. We've got to stay true to our values. We've got to be open, right? Say yes and be open to where things might lead you. Is there any, before we hop off, is there any other like little, hey, like this could really change your day to day, or this could maybe not do a whole transformational shift, but it just brighten your day a little bit more? Any strategies or solutions there that you'd recommend to our audience?
So the first one I'm going to say is like, it's going to just be like not cheesy, but it's going to feel cliche. I'm a big believer of, I mean, my background is also in like exercise science and things like that. And so I'm a big exerciser. And so that's the first thing I do when I wake up, and it's not negotiable. That in itself has been a roller coaster of like, oh, you're being selfish and things like that. No, I'm just making sure that I can mentally show up for everyone, and everyone doesn't want to like throw me somewhere. So one, lean into the positive side of being selfish. Like, show up for you first so that you can show up for others. It's again super cliche, but it is so friggin' important, especially if we're women, because we're so used to putting ourselves, last. So that's one. The other thing, I said it in the beginning, and I think it's a perfect way to bring it all the way back around. We've got to call ourselves out. We have to own up to what role am I playing? What story am I telling myself? What questions have I not asked? Like, we cannot continue to blame or try to be the victim. We have got to own up for what did I learn? What stories am I telling myself? Go to therapy. Like, like, work on yourself. It is so important, because then it just makes the other external things feel a little less hard. So those are the two big things. I mean, lean into being positively selfish, not negatively selfish. And then you gotta figure out like, where do these stories come from? What am I telling myself? Why am I so angry? Like, you gotta turn that finger in before you turn it out. And it's life-changing.
Oh, I mean, that goes back to, can you look in the mirror and be proud of how you showed up that day, right?
Yeah.
And we'll also do a little shout out here because we're talking about like positive selfishness. And so I'm going to just do a shout out, and I'll link this in the comments later, that if you are struggling with this, if you're a manager, if you're in the construction world, manager, owner, whoever you are, Jesse Hernandez has an amazing like time management breakdown and workshop. And it's all about like, okay, how can I put myself first so I could show up better for my work or for my people, for these other goals that I have in life? And so big shout out to Jesse on that. Okay, Colleen, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been really fun. A little bit of therapy. I did cringe. I did not cringe at your piece of advice, though. When you said it might sound cliche, and inside I was like, oh, get ready to hype up a cringe moment, Sam. It was all awesome. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.